Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Oh, I'm bringing Ross in. 1 second, Ross. I can hear you, but they can't. So 1 second. Bringing Ross in. Welcome, everyone, to the
And
call
we're
today.
in.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so if you're just coming in, you know the routine. Go ahead and give us your location. We love to see all the places around the world that we get to speak to on a weekly basis. And if it's your first time watching any of our streams, wherever you're watching it at, just go ahead and type in the comment section,
Hi, Mary.
#first time. Hey, Mary. Yeah, so hashtag first time if it's your first time. If you're a regular, hashtag hooked on hacking is what we're going to stick with. And then if you're watching the replay, hashtag replay, just so that we can, be able to pinpoint when you're watching, who's watching, and how to come back in and help you out. In today's session, we're going to cover about, I believe, 10 powerful ways that balance is actually a good thing. And then if you stick with us till the end, we're going to sort of contradict all of that by giving you simple, a simple
As usual.
yeah, a simple 4-step micro hack that will help you sustain a state of
Hi,
imbalance.
Cheryl. Hi, Karen.
And as you sustain that state of imbalance so that you can accelerate your growth and your spiritual evolution. Well, let's see. Oh, Karen, first time. Welcome. Glad you're here. Hope you
Yes.
enjoy it. So if you are coming in,
Astrid.
which I see there's a few.
Oh, boy. Here they come.
Germany, nice. And South Africa, hey Annie. And hello Cheryl from Pennsylvania, nice. And Fort Lauderdale, nice. Awesome, we got a good crowd here today. Awesome. Okay, so if you stick around, we're going to again talk about balance in life and how it's a good thing in many ways, but then also why it's not what you want as an end result or end outcome. What you actually want is a state of imbalance, and we can talk about why that is and give you a micro hack so that you can practice that skill. And if you're here watching this on anything other than our Facebook group, we're just going to remind you that it's the place to be. We have a lot of really cool stuff planned this year, starting next month, specifically for group content. So you're going to want to join in the group. The link is running down the bottom of the screen here. I'll share it in this. Let me just get the link. It should pop up in the chat as well. And when you get there, there's a few questions we're going to ask to enter the group. If you don't answer them, the system will automatically bump you out and you won't be in. If you do answer them, then you'll automatically be entered in to the group. And like I said, we're going to have very group specific content that only shows up on the group. And we also have a section there for you to join VIP, become part of our VIP group list. And that is going to have even more exclusive content just for people, because VIP is really where we believe you've made the commitment to really not just be an observer, but jump in and play full on and see how far we can go with hacking the matrix, the infinite matrix, and really creating the reality that we prefer, so that we become unstoppable in no matter what's going on in life around us. Next month,
Gary, I think we should actually emphasize as well is that there's no cost for the VIP.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I mean, but what it tells us is that you're serious. Our time is valuable, your time is valuable. And, when you have people who are just like, I just want the free stuff. It's like, well, it is free, but this is just a small little commitment of your time and a commitment that, listen, yeah, I'm very serious about wanting to make some substantial changes.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents worth.
And that's absolutely right, and I think that's important to remember. And if you're not there yet, that's fine. If you want to just,
Right.
kind of first of all start on the sidelines, you don't have to join the VIP. It's just an option for you. And but you do need to answer the questions so that we know that you're an active member, not just someone kind of, randomly going through Facebook and joining groups for the sake of joining groups. Uh, we
Correct.
do have something planned that we're very close to kind of releasing all the info on, and we have a 7-day challenge, 7-day Infinity Hack challenge that we're going to put on for people who want to really create some
Yeah.
fast, powerful, impactful change in the reality they experience. We're going to be revealing more information about that over the next couple of weeks. So please tune in and check in, but definitely you'll see more of it directly on the group. Content will be posting stuff and kind of giving info about that, when we're going to start it and what it's going to all be about. All right. Last thing is
Yeah.
to
It's
share
getting
your,
bigger and bigger.
yeah. Let's keep hacking your let's keep sharing your hacking stories with us, because we love to hear them, and see how, when you take what we're giving you and apply it into the Infinite Matrix, the type of results you get. And we love to hear those stories, and you can share them either during the lives or after the lives, but we come back and check them and respond. As you know, we respond to just about everybody all the time. So yeah, so that's, and you did have, I think you had some something you had told me about, Ross, is I think it was Carol, something from Carol. Excuse me.
Oh yeah, yeah. So and we, we like Gary said, we read virtually everything everyone says, and I always like to grab a couple ones that just really stand out. And so Carol writes, "I'm so glad to find this group. I've seen many videos where Dr. Lipton explains why this theory works, but would love to hear from others who have implemented the tools." And what I like about that, Gary, is the fact that we are a tool, and we are a powerful tool that is directly in reflection of um, the format and the theory behind the biology of belief. So it's actually very cool. And John says, "I've been searching and searching for this kind of teachings. It's easy, it's fun, and usable. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your plans for
Nice.
2021."
Nice. And that's what a
That
hack
was
is
somebody who's
about,
paying
right?
attention.
A hack is something that's simple, easy, you can do to kind of make a shift or an alteration to an end result that you used to get, right? And that's perfect. That's awesome. I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in today's episode or stream, I kind of want to start off by referring back to, if you haven't watched the movie The Matrix yet, I'm not quite sure why you're on this call, but okay, but at least you have some reference to it, which is great. But the actual movie series, really kind of, I believe, woke a lot of people up to the possibility that, number one, reality is not what we think it to be, and number two, we have ability to shift, alter, or adjust that reality. I think that that's probably the two primary things that came from the movie series. In the third episode, though, something that caught my attention when I watched it, and I've watched it a ton of times. One of the times I was going through, and which in the third episode, Neo goes to see the architect, and the architect says to Neo, a perfectly, because they're talking about the different matrices that had, that it had existed, and the architect said, and this could be paraphrasing, a perfectly balanced matrix like the original Paradise Matrix will ultimately fail. It was rejected by the humans. So you start to wonder, well, why is that? What, and think about that, right? A perfectly balanced was rejected by the humans. We have some concepts around why or some hypothesis around why that's possibly so. And so then he also went on to allude that the Oracle program was created because of that, right? And in that same episode, Neo's in a conversation with the Oracle, and she says the architect doesn't understand choices. He can't. To him, they're variables in an equation. that he has to keep solving. So he's always working at solving to bring balance to the equations, right? And that's his purpose, to balance an equation. And so Neo says to the Oracle, well, what's your purpose then? And she says, to unbalance it. Why do you think that is? Well, we're going to explore that a little bit today. So we'll start off with understand. I think it's important for us to kind of talk about balance, imbalance, off balance, and all that kind of stuff. So Ross, if you want to kind of start off with that piece, and then I'll jump in and
Sure.
join. Let me take off some of these images that don't need to be here. Go ahead.
All right. So, has everyone ever thought about the fact that there is a difference, between balance and off balance and imbalance? I know in some of the posts that I did this week, people were getting a little bit, confused, which is kind of what I wanted. I wanted you to start thinking about this. So off balance implies I'm about to fall or fail, and I must react to compensate for that being out of balance. Imbalance, I'm balanced and respond to circumstances and directing my actions and the direction that I'm going to go. So if you're finding it more challenging than ever to juggle the demands of your job, your family, your friends, and the rest of your life, you're not alone. We've all been there. And some of us are still there. And occasionally that does, pop up again and again. So we recommend to stop juggling and start flowing. And that's what today is all about. Today is to put you into, I'm going to talk about balance, but that's a launching point, because balance is important to a degree. But it's also that place where you look around and say, I'm going to go over here. This works a little bit better for me, my balance. So even during a hectic day, many people think that they can't take 10 or 15 minutes to do something that will recharge their batteries. Take a power meditation, read a book, go for a walk, or listen to music. I used to just step out in my car. When I was, in management, I used to, just tell my secretary, I was, hey, listen, you know what, just no calls for 10 minutes. And I had a couch in my office, and I would just take a power nap. I lived off of them. You have to make a little time for the things that ignite your joy. And that's, I think that's something that we've heard before. Oh, yeah, that was in last month's show. So everything is intertwined. You're going to, for those of you that are new, that people that have been on for the last few months, you're going to see that, one show refers to another, because everything that we teach are standalone, but they actually interact with each lesson that we're putting forth. So
It's the
before you
infinity
give up
game.
on your life, that's right. So before you give up on your life dream, okay, get clear around the reasons why life balance is so important. Because understanding why life balance is important isn't just nice to know, but necessary for creating a life of calmness and prosperity. And the need for balance is more important than ever, especially given the unpredictable, often under pressure current modern environment. For those of you in the United States, yesterday was a really good example. But why am I talking about balance when the title states imbalance? Because first comes balance. And from there, you bridge into imbalance and then flow into your bliss. I'm going to repeat that. First comes balance. And from there, you bridge into imbalance. And then you flow into your bliss.
Now, some people may not experience that because they've been so off balance most of their life, that they never get to experience that balanced state first. And so that's kind of where we want to start off, is to, well, what is that? What does that look like, feel like? And then from there, that's what we believe to be, the in essence, it's really the choice convergence point where there is
Exactly.
a full potential occurring in that moment, right?
Exactly. So everybody with us so far, give us a thumbs up down below. Just let us know that you're with us. You know, actually, that's even better. This, are you inbound? Are you balanced? Are you off balance? Or as we progress, are you actually living a life imbalanced? Let us know below right now. Just type it in, and
And
so
if you're
we
not
kind of
sure,
know
you're
where
not
everybody's
sure,
at.
right?
As
If you're not sure because
yeah,
you haven't really, put any attention on it, again, I think it's a muscle, it's a skill, it's a practice that to be aware of where you are on the scale, which again is a part of what we're
exactly,
talking about here today, right? So just to be aware of,
exactly,
yeah. So why don't you go ahead and break
exactly.
it down
So
for the
let's
rest?
Yeah, so let's break this down into some bite-sized sections, okay? And there's 10 sections. I'm going to summarize them at the end, but I want to give you some, this is all about balance because to get to the ability to have imbalance, you have to start at the balance point to get over here because this is a kind of a control point. And this is when there's no basically there's no chaos, and then you calm. You can think of what you actually really want. That's where the flow starts to come into play, and then you use the flow to decide where you're going to end up in the matrix. So the number one is life balance generally means less stress. And stress is estimated to be the fifth biggest cause of death in the United States. Additionally, a quarter of Americans identify their jobs as their number one source of stress. The biggest problem is that most people think they have no choice. And what have we stated about choice? Everyone has a choice, but you must take action on it. Remember that life balance is ultimately created through your choices. And that's also what's causing much of your stress by agreeing to take on or be put upon a more load when you don't have the capacity or not delegating work that could be delegated, and you're creating more stress for yourself because you think you have no choice. And here are the choices that could start making you to relieve a lot of your stress and anxiety. So, for example, you can choose to say no to things that are not priorities. Yes, it might hurt someone's feelings, but delegate as much as you can be delegated. Create a system to follow up with those tasks that you give out, though. So if you're going to use delegation as your way of relieving some tasks, then you take on a smaller responsibility of following up to make sure that that person you delegated to is getting the job done. And that's, you got to put a system together for yourself, and make sure that the person you delegate to has the ability to do the job to your level, and do things that are only priorities. This may involve taking some time to determine what your priorities actually are. Absolutely, without a doubt, prioritize your well-being, your health, and your happiness. um, All right. So who just said that that's selfish? Yes, it is. So don't you think you deserve it? This doesn't mean to isolate yourself. Okay. Get creative. Go back to our conversation about what brings you joy. That's going to be in your top priority. And that is different for everyone. So I can't tell you what that is going to be. For those of you that are new, go back to Gary, was it 2 shows ago? I think it was
Yeah.
two live streams back,
Yeah. And
where we
then
did it
last
on
week,
joy.
we
You go into
also
the
worked
Eunice
with that.
section.
Last week, we're also working with that is getting your team together, right? So then that's part of your
That's
team
correct. Yeah,
to be able to
exactly.
do those things, right?
Exactly. So the end result is a more manageable load and more time doing the things that are important to you. This is going to greatly decrease your stress and anxiety levels. So manage your boundaries. Making tough choices requires you to create strong boundaries at work or at home. You're only one person and you can only do so much. Being stretched too thin, it's not going to help you, nor is it going to help your stress.
So I just jump in
I
here,
know
right?
that having boundary,
I just
yeah,
jump in
sure.
here because just a real life experience here is that, and also just so you guys understand that we're consistently working the system and refining ourselves as well, right? So we practice, both Ross and I both practice, balance in life is for us to refine, right? So it's not an endpoint. It's a place where we're consistently refining it based on what's going on and what we observe and what we're experiencing. And earlier this year, or last year, sorry, um, I would say about September, October ish, right? So I work from home. I do consulting and stuff like that, and I have certain clients that I've been working with. And the COVID shift really put an additional stress or strain or workload on me to help my clients out because we're in a realm of it's never happened before, so we have to figure it out on the fly. So for me, I want to be there for my clients and help them to increase their business and grow and do those things. And so I took it upon myself to give them extra of me during that time frame. Well, it got to a point where I kept giving more and more. So it was thinning more of my energy, my frequency, my resources, my ability to be there, and start to move me, more from an imbalance to an off balance, right? And then
Right.
I'm fortunate enough that my clients and I have a relationship beyond just the client relationship. We actually we're friendships. We feel like we're family, right? And so I'm fortunate that there was one particular client who called me out on, hey, we noticed that you're doing all these things and things are falling by the wayside. They're not getting done the right way. They're not getting done as quick. And so she called me on it as a part of my team from love. It wasn't a hey, we're paying you for this, you got to do it. It was come from a place of love in seeing the impact of me spreading myself thin, and had me and I had felt it, and I was tuned into it, but again, my focus was really more on serving them. And so I kind of overlooked the impact, right? But the impact was obvious. And so by her calling me on that and having a conversation with me about it, she was blunt, and I love that she didn't, she was, I could tell it came from her heart, even though to the average person seeing that message had been like, oh, she's harsh. No, I felt it from a place of love, right? And it was perfectly timed, as everything seems to be when you're tuned in with the Infinity Matrix. It was perfectly timed with my own internal process that says, hey, I got to change something. I don't know what it is, but I got to make some shifts. And it allowed me to kind of step back and reflect on what was going on and really assess what that imbalance is as opposed to the off balance, and get back to that. Right. So that's just a real life example of us going through that and having those experiences and using the tools that we have. And if I didn't have that tool of the circle of people around me, to be the voice of reason, if you will, or the reflection that I need, then that wouldn't have been in place. And if I didn't have the skill to know that, hey, I need to reassess where's my imbalance point opposed to my off balance point, then it could have gotten to a place where I just got thinner and thinner and thinner and then wasn't able to recover.
Because these things, these situations, they creep up on you. It's little
Yep.
increments,
Yeah.
little, and you don't even know it's happening. And I mean, and Gary was very fortunate that he had somebody that was going to that did that for him, even though he already sensed that something was off, you know. But you know, sometimes that you know that little slap in the face, just kind of like, oh, you know, now I need to step back and take some time, center myself, and figure out where you know where I'm at now, where I was, where I'm at, and where I want to be. And part of that is the process of having those boundaries. And boundaries also need to be explained to a certain degree to the people around you. You know, to your team, your core team. You need to say, listen, you know, this is this is where I'm drawing the lines. I can't do this. I can't be your babysitter. I do not like being another adult's babysitter. That's just my personal thing. I came from years and years and years of management, and so it's so you have to explain to your assistants, your coworkers, your kids, and you know, and your spouse if you have one. It's like, listen, this is I can't do all of this. I can't. We need to figure out, and we don't need to be a jerk about it. We just say, listen, we need to figure something out because this is too much for me, and giving them the freedom to come back to you and say, they can't. They're beyond their capacity, and it's a mutual. And if you make it mutual and you make both sides winners, it works really well. It really does. And excuse me, having boundaries can sometimes it can feel scary. And especially when enforcing them means that you have to say no to somebody. And most of the people that are on here, if not all, are people who want to help. And Gary will give more and more and more and more and more of himself. But he also knows that, you can only slice that pie up so much. And ultimately, if you've given so much to everyone else, there's nothing left for you, and then you will ultimately be the one that's going to fail. Now, I'm talking when I say failure, I'm talking it could be in your work, it could be in your relationship, it could be in your health, could be all three, because generally if one goes, the other two are going to follow, especially your health. Um, so, this is something that you need to give some serious thought to. And but again, with calmness and with love for yourself and love for everybody else. So, but don't feel bad about it. Saying no, um, it's a skill. So you'll learn ultimately how to handle different individuals that are in your environment. And but it's easier to say no, I can't do that. Remember when we had this conversation about, I can't take on anymore? There you go. Because then you are no longer going to be, that one and only lifeline. And so, and this is a give and take. Don't forget that. I can't stress that enough. And sometimes you can. You say, well, let me look at my schedule. Let me look at my load right now. Oh yeah, I can do this a little bit, but this is the only time. I can't do this. Don't expect this all the time. Just be upfront. It's nothing. It's fine. Okay. All right. So number two, balance will improve your mental health. Okay, so one of the biggest reasons why life balance is important and relates to your mental health is when you feel balanced, you're more capable of dealing with negative events, emotions, and thoughts. So the human brain isn't meant to feel stressed out and under pressure all the time, nor is the human body as a whole. Um, and if you look at if anybody's been on the page in the last 24 hours, I posted a video by Dr. Lipton that he did speaking specific about this, and I had already written this, so I'm just like, oh my god, this is just perfect. So I posted it because it just hit home, is that we are not meant to live constantly stressed. The body simply can't handle it. When you look at the condition of, I'm only going to speak about the United States, of the United States health concerns. We're a pretty unhealthy nation. And part of that reason is because we're also one of the most stressed populations. And there is a correlation, and it's been proven. All right, so creating more balance in your life gives you breathing space, time to think, which allows your subconscious thoughts to bubble up to the surface. Ta-da! Thus, you begin to identify what imbalance is and where to find it. And Gary's going to hit more on this later on in the broadcast. So that will help you better understand your feelings, know your thoughts, and actually deal with them instead of allowing them to stay pent up within, ready to blow up the most inopportune moment. Okay? So, number 3, life balance means a better physical health. Part of creating balance for yourself includes taking care of your physical health. And that includes eating healthy, reducing sugar and alcohol intake, healthy sleep. Gary, at some point, I'm going to do a whole episode on sleep.
Oh yeah.
It is, it is, not just in my dreaming hacks, but I mean, literally the physical benefits of
Yep.
sleep.
Yep.
It's the number one productivity tool of your top CEOs and your
Yep.
top athletes. Okay.
Yep.
Regular exercise. And I've talked about this before. If you're having trouble exercising on a regular basis, going out and taking walks, just go get some Huskies. They give you no choice. Where's my walk? Where's my walk? Where's my walk? Okay. So, but there's actually more to it than that. How you live, how you work is making things much worse for your body, which is actually it's a societal problem. And that's what I just said earlier. And it's not a personal thing. We are, again, let's go back to the United States. The people in the United States, on average, work 10 to 15 hours more per week than any other population on the planet. Huh. And they're the sickest. And they're the most unhealthy. And they're the most undernourished. So what's going on? See? Everything is starting to connect. It's a different side of the matrix. So the problem with having or being too busy and this really, really demanding lifestyle is that gosh, if you're like most people, then you're chained to a desk. And most of the day, you're glued to your couch at night because how exhausted and stressed you are. Am I right?
That's a lot of people for sure.
Yeah, let's mark it down. Give me a thumbs up or maybe a thumbs down. If you feel that you're in that range. You get home, you're so exhausted or stressed out, and then you go grab a beer out of the refrigerator and just sit on the couch, and then just let TV mold your mind.
Man, Ross, I just thought of like 4 hacks that I could teach at this moment, but I'm got to stay on track.
Write them down. Write them down. Write them down.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, it's this. Everything is so encompassing, and that's the beauty of what we do. I mean, we were just talking before the show that I'm like, well, we got what about this? He goes, yeah, we could do. Write it down. So I have a list going. She says, well, let's get this list. So. And when we're trying to decide what's the next show going to be, it's just like there's so much to choose from. So anyhow, I digress. So if you're on that couch and you're just kind of just sitting there, it means that you're rarely moving and you're often sitting and almost never outside. Like I said, get some dogs. Um, but you've got to get moving. And what I tell a lot of my clients is that the body is a giant pumping system. This is how it works. There's only one self-actuating pump in the entire human body, and that's the heart. Everything else, everything else is designed that moving causes the pumping. And when we don't move enough, then the internal structure of your body, whether it be the toxins, the blood, whatever the case, becomes stagnant. And we all know what happens to stagnant water, anything that is stagnant. Okay, so the simple fact is that human beings aren't meant to sit, not as much as we do, nor are they meant to be cooped up indoors. You're meant to stand, you're meant to move and get outside. That means achieving balance includes more movement and outdoor activity, physical activity. And especially when you get your heart rate up and spending time outdoors, it generates endorphins, which endorphins are hormones that make you feel more positive and good about yourself. I mean, there's been studies that say endorphins are more powerful than painkillers. They're amazing. If you've known anybody who is a runner, they just get out and they jog. That's a runner. They just do this every single day. They're doing it because they want those endorphins. It's called the runner's high. And they just push themselves until they hit that point, and they're just like and then the world just goes away, and then they just get into their runner's high. It's actually pretty cool. So doing this exercise, and like I said, you don't have to go to the gym. You just have to start moving. But exercise helps you sleep better. Here we go. It gives you more energy and will give you far more clarity in your mind, in your thinking. I have either a notebook or the note section on my phone that is with me every time I'm outside going for a walk. Because all these ideas, I mean, I think of nothing. And again, that subconscious, those ideas, they just bubble up. And I don't want to forget them. It's kind of like when you wake up in the morning, you've got a great idea because you just had a nice dream. But if you don't write it down fast enough, you forget it. Kind of the same thing. And so I just jot them down. Before the show, I was telling you, Gary, I was walking the dogs last night. I got this idea. And so that's how it works. That's the best way. All right. So number 4, a balanced lifestyle enhances your ability to be present in the moment. One of the biggest complaints that we hear from clients is their inability to be present, both at home and at work. Your mind feels like it's always on. It's racing and it's cluttered with thoughts that can sometimes be difficult to decipher or filter through. So, always thinking about work or projects when with your family or your friends, which then leads you to constantly checking your email. Is this ringing a bell with anybody? I know it does with me every once in a while. So, worrying about what's going on in your personal life when you're trying to work, such as overflowing laundry, the fight you had with your spouse that morning, or how guilty you feel about not making it to your child's piano recital the other night, or vice versa. The good news is that your brain can be trained to be more present and calmer through a consistent practice of specific mindfulness practices. The science is there. Doing that is a part of how you create a balanced life. And Gary's
Yeah.
going to talk about this in a little bit. He's going to give you some pretty cool stuff. So, mindfulness creates an internal balance and mindful awareness that will help you find and remain in the choice convergence point.
Well, let me just
Internal
jump on
balance
that
and
last.
mindful awareness.
Let me just jump
Yeah,
on that because I think
sure.
it's accessing the choice convergence because we can't remain there because then there's no choice. There's no action that's taken, right? So it's accessing the choice
That's
convergence
right.
and launching from there. I think that's really what we want to emphasize
Mm-hmm.
because that comes to what I believe one of the biggest flaws in the idea or the philosophy of finding balance is that that's the place. And in that place of balance, there is no motion, there is no movement, there's nothing, right? There's value in experiencing that no thing place, but you can't live and exist in a matrix filled with the amount of variables that we have in that place,
Right.
right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So, and though, but while you're there, that's where you're more attuned to other people's emotions and their feelings, which leads to being better at responding to people on a more intuitive level. That moment when you look at your spouse or your kids or whatever, or coworkers, you're like, something bugging you. You okay? That's that moment. So this will positively affect your relationships with your family, your friends, and your colleagues, and even your clients are going to be aware of the good around you and dismissing, the bad per se, for lack of a better term. They're just like, oh, he's just a little off right now. Okay. So number 5, life balance improves all of your relationships. Spending more time with those you love, but out of balance generally means less quality and time with them too. Okay. If you're off balance, you're going to if you're out of balance or you're off balance, what means that you're going to be taking all of that time that you could be spending with friends and family and trying to catch up, trying to pull yourself to balance. Oh gosh, everything's just chaos. I got to pull myself to balance. It's pretty difficult to be present and give others your full attention when you're exhausted and overwhelmed. When your mind is just, as I said earlier, your mind is just, it's elsewhere, because elsewhere is off balance. Elsewhere has all of your attention because you're trying to solve a problem or look at potential problems or relive a problem. It's just, that's how it works. That's how our minds work. So connection becomes key to your happiness, and a ripple effect will help you be more positive about your life, your career, and even your work relationships. Once it starts, it's like a pebble being dropped in the water. It'll just ripple out into all aspects of your life, and it doesn't take very long. So when you're having a balanced lifestyle, it means developing deep connections with other people, not just family, but with colleagues and with friends. You'll derive more purpose from these connections, and you'll also feel more connected to your purpose. A lot of people, they post in the comments that, I'm working on this. I want to go in this direction. It says that these are awesome things. What we're teaching you here just makes those transpire and come to fruition far, far faster. So a balanced lifestyle increases engagement at all levels. When you're happy and feel motivated by your job, you're more likely to be loyal and engaged. Being engaged about feeling committed to something that you do, you'll do your best. Engaged people are more involved, they're enthusiastic and committed to their work or their purpose. But according to a Gallup poll, about only about 34% of the US workers are really engaged, where they really are just like, I love what I'm doing, I'm just going for it. Okay. And many employers falsely believe that engagement is created through pressure or incentives. Although this might work a little in the short term, it ultimately creates stress, anxiety, and even more resentment. It's not exactly a recipe for long term engagement or morale or even success because it can't be maintained, because it's relatively artificial. There is that adage that you can't buy happiness, and you might enjoy it for a while, but we adapt and we're like, yeah, the money's good, but I really don't like what I'm doing. So a less stressed, mentally and physically healthy employee or worker or entrepreneur who feels connected to coworkers or clients is.
Oh, I lost your audio there, Ross. Oh, I lost Ross altogether. All right. Well, we'll see what happened to him there. He must have lost his connection. Yeah, so again, I think he's essentially saying in that point there that, the more engaged you are, the better results you're going to get. Just, it's more energy, right? Your energy shows up with you in that. And then I think the next one was life balance increases creative thinking, right? Because when you're in that place or you have access to more life balance, um, your brain gets space to think. It gets space to be still and to observe things in a different way, right? It's not meant to be considered bombardment by all the things. Just not what we're designed for, that, right? To have the bombardment of people, social media, emails, phone calls, texts, and the reality is we need that space for clear creative thinking. And that's where the choice convergence point is all about, that we keep talking about, right? It's like if you've ever racked your brain on a problem and feel stuck because no answer seemed to come, right? Yet an answer magically appears when you're in the shower, when you're walking, when you're cooking, or when you're doing something that's not related to that, right? And you can't believe you didn't see it sooner. It just comes out of nowhere. Well, the same thing happens when you have an unhealthy life balance, right? When you're stressed, overwhelmed, or anxious, you have no capacity to think creatively, right? It becomes like a blockage. And when you get balance, it becomes clear. You get more creative thinking, you get more resources, you're able to think outside the box if that's what you need to do, or think inside the box, or flow where you need to flow to get the resources you need, right? Which ultimately then means that you're more productive, right? Balance in life also makes you, again, more productive in a variety of different ways, from whether you're with your at work, or with family, or just out in leisure, or doing sports, or whatever. um, you know that it's that balanced place where you don't feel like you're being pulled out of who you really are, right? The truth of who you are. And I guess if you think about it, the real core feeling of balance is really when you're in that state of being your true self, right? You feel it. You feel better mentally, physically, emotionally. You're focused. You're present. You're in. I used to do a lot of martial arts, and one of the things we would do when in the black belt training is get to a place where we called holistic awareness, where you're in the center of it all, and you notice everything, and it's you're not impacted by those things, but you're aware of them, and every little thing that happens, you're in that state where you can make that choice to be present and respond appropriately. You're calm, you're clear, you're creative. You see things coming a lot faster and a lot earlier than you normally would if your mind were clouded by the imbalance that can happen, right? And did I just hear you come back on there, Ross? Okay, let me just pull you in 1 second. So I just went through, I'm on number 9, I believe, so you can just catch up from there. Sure. And There you go. Ross is back.
Sweet, 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 sweet. I think with so many people using the internet now these days, might just puts too much of a load on it. So
There's an imbalance. It's off balance.
it's off balance. Damn it, we should go talk to those guys. I
Yeah.
think we can make it work. We'll get Mr. Smith in on this one. All right. So, what are we on number 10?
9.
We're on number 9. Okay. So, and I kind of heard what Gary was saying there. So, real balance brings happiness and fulfillment. It's one of the biggest reasons why life balance is so important. It's even imperative. It's imperative for your own happiness and fulfillment. That should be your, and what I said earlier in the beginning of the show is that, is that really selfish? Really? Is it? Because I know some of you are thinking that. I know clients of mine have thought that. Because some time in the past, they were programmed to think that. Balance is about feeling good about yourself and being in control of your life and your career path. Both are keys to creating happiness for yourself and bringing real meaning to your life. Really think about this. You need to do some, sit down with some quiet time. You can have it all. You can have both sides. You can be very, very, aggressive and getting things done the way you want them, and that's really, really cool. But I see other people who just, that's all consuming. And that's way off balance. So life balance brings higher levels of success. If success is important to you and you believe that balance is synonymous with settling, compromising, then I have good news, because life balance will make you more, not less successful. Because when you have that time to spend with family or friends, it's like a reward. Like, I really like this. I want to do more. When Gary and I first met, oh God, it's been 12 years, I think, 13 years ago. When we first met, he was so much better at this than I was. I was jealous. I'm just like, that's what I want. I want to be able to have that. And so I started, changing my life a little bit, setting boundaries, because I wanted to have more of that time, because I was Mr. Management. I was Mr. You know, business is everything. And I made some serious, serious changes for the better. So there's a misconception that balance doesn't work for those who want to be successful. Okay. But that's just not true. And it's based on a common misconception that work life balance is about settling for less. And it's not. Life balance is about creating a life of success on your terms by following the guidelines that we've just given you. And this image will be posted on the page. So it's just it's kind of a short synopsis, a summarize of everything. So all the reasons let's summarize. So all the reasons why life balance is important are guideposts for how to start creating a healthy life balance for yourself. Now it's time to start creating more balanced life. And you begin with your own mind by taking control of the things you can, by learning to let go of the rest. Think about how much things are out there that are just draining you. You want to build a less stressed, healthy mindset. And that's the foundation to let go of your non priorities, build strong boundaries, prioritizing properly. Okay, sometimes that's a properly is, prioritizing what might need to be done over what, oh, I really want to do this. You know, just be careful. Being more present and create a space for your mind to think creatively and know what brings you true meaning. Creative space for your mind to think creatively and know what brings you true meaning. Okay? So remember, on their deathbed, no one ever said, I should have spent more time at the office. Haven't heard it yet.
Yeah. Now we're not at every deathbed, but it's probably a good guess.
Yeah, you know, exactly. But that actually came from a survey that they did of a lot of doctors and nurses. And, I don't want to be there with any regrets. So it's
Yeah.
up to you.
Yeah, and I think that we want you to be aware of when you get to that balance you desire or have been told you need to seek. Um, and once you can sense it, we want to make sure that you don't get drunk by it in a sense of trying to stay in the state of balance. Because, as I mentioned earlier, staying in the state of balance is not the objective or the goal. Because now that you understand the benefits of attaining balance and how it can show up in your life, I think that we
Right.
want to drive home today that balance in and of itself is a good thing. So when we say imbalance is better for you in the infinity matrix, what we're talking about is the constant refinement of that balance, right? In fact, going as far as saying we want you to actually seek imbalance in the direction of improvement, growth, and evolution. Because that's different from imbalance of breaking down, destruction, and entropy,
Right.
right? So there, the balance we want you to think about is shifting it in the direction you prefer instead of the one you don't prefer. And for everybody, it's going to be different, right? We all have our own measurements of what that's going to be, right? Um, think of it this way. If you buy into the idea of balance being the be all end all achievement, you end up in a state of no growth because there's nothing to strive for when all is balanced, right? The reality is that there are an infinite amount of variables that make up your reality, and balance in all of them just not attainable.
Right.
So by striving for it, part of the problem is that it's something that you can't ever sustain. And so then because you don't sustain it, our minds and society has conditioned us to think that we're failing at being balanced. I want you to think about it differently, right? That imbalance is what drives you to learn. It's what drives you to do things differently. It's what drives you to stand out from the norm, to be exceptional. It's what pushes or pulls you into your greatness. And when you achieve that level of greatness, it's only imbalance that can creep back in to prove to you that you're still greater than that. Okay. Right? When the average person looks at, for example, the yin yang symbol, right? So if I bring up, I'm going to move you out here, Ross, 1 second.
Sure.
Um,
Story of my life.
okay, bring back. So in the image that we have on stream for the cover image, when you look at the yin yang symbol, people usually see it as a static two-dimensional representation of balance, right? What's missing most of the time is all of the other meanings and lessons that can be absorbed from this program in the matrix. Because I see signs, symbols, and digits as actual programs in the matrix that we either adhere to or don't adhere to, right? And on one side, it has the dark, or what's called the yang energy, and on the other side is the light, or what's called the yin energy. Both also contain a dot from the other energy, right, to represent that everything contains a seed of its opposite. And that's why we continue to emphasize over and over in these calls that it's that we're not in a that it's not a this or that reality, right? It's a this and that, right? And that too, because if we look at this this one symbol, it's not just the dark and this and the little dot that makes a yin yang. Because if you had that just by itself, it's not the yin yang. It's that and the other side and the circle and everything outside of it that's not that, to make us observe that as what it is. Okay, and it's the what we like to think of as, and that's why we call it the infinity matrix, because it's the all-inclusive infinity matrix. Right? A lot of teachers have metaphorized, if that's a word. I'm going to make it. They've metaphorized or popularized this symbol to teach about good and bad, masculine, feminine, hard and soft. There's so many other examples of opposites, right, that it kind of represents, and how you can have how you can't really have one without the other. And I think that's sometimes a missing lesson in that. That balance in life is the same. You can't have balance in life if you don't first know what imbalance is. Right? So we should invite imbalance as a welcomed friend instead of a feared enemy. Right? The yin yang is a symbol that comes from the Taoist teachings, and in those teachings they say that we need to learn from both the yin and yang, and in doing so we can live in harmony with what they call the Tao, or the way. Right? This is how we flow through the infinity matrix. Right? We're never fully internal in our experiences, and we've talked about the internal matrix stuff, right? And we're never fully external, which we talk about the external matrix stuff, right? We're always in flow. There's always an underlying imbalance that either pushes us or pulls us or drags us into the experience we need to have to grow and evolve, right? And the fact is, for us, what we want to do is use it as a reminder that everything is always in a constant state of change, right? It's what we believe to be one of the laws of reality, right? That everything is always in constant state of change. Everything, all the time, everywhere, right? Constant state of change. Right? The caution here is when you ignore that imbalance for extended periods of time, which we talked about, a little bit earlier. When you ignore that imbalance for extended periods of time on the destructive side of things, then you end up being off balanced. And when you're off balanced, that can cause severe struggle to get back to a place of growth. And some people just never get there because they're so off balanced, right? There's such a variance from what they even call imbalance. They're so far off that getting there will require a lot of time, effort, resources, and energy. And some people just don't have the time, energy, or resources to do it. Right? So go ahead and let us know in the comments where you are at after hearing all of this, right? And Ross had done it earlier, but now where are you at with where you measure yourself? If you're at an imbalanced place or if you're off balanced, so we can kind of get an idea of where you are all at, right? And in becoming aware of that, that's the first step to making the shift and getting to a choice convergence point where you can make a new decision to find that imbalanced place, to be aware of what balance is, and to know that there's one side that leads towards growth and evolution and another side that leads towards breaking down and death, right? And again, we just don't have time for it. This goes right back to biology belief stuff. I mean, it's the principle. It goes right back to that, right? So good. So I'm seeing them coming in now. So as you go ahead and type in the hashtag imbalanced or hashtag off balanced to let us know, then I'm going to just start to go through the simple hack for today. So first step, what I want you to do is I want you to go out, and in the next 24 hours, sooner the better, I want you to go out and get some kind of yin-yang representation for you, right? It could be as simple as, searching on the internet and finding an image and printing it off and having it so you have it for the exercise. Or going out and finding a piece of art that you can have in your home environment as a consistent reminder. Or, you can put up at work, or even some kind of jewelry with a yin-yang symbol on it. So actually go out and find this program in the infinity matrix that we call the yin-yang symbol. First step. Second step is to spend at least 2 minutes. I don't think you need to do more than that, but spend 2 minutes a day for the next 30 days, looking at that yin-yang symbol and connect with where you are on the spectrum of balance, imbalanced, or off-balanced. Just tune into it. Just feel into it. Get a sense of where that is. Practice your skill of being aware of where you are and knowing what it looks like, sounds like, and feels like for each of those, for balanced, imbalanced, and off-balanced. Third, soon as you get an idea of where you are in that range, and you can also do balance and then imbalance towards positive, imbalance towards negative, or off balance towards negative and off balance towards positive. Okay, and off balance towards positive, what you'll find will tend to be, right, something where let's say, for example, you are really great in your relationships and you get caught up in that, but then your money is starting to dwindle because you're not taking care of your business or whatever, or your health. So it's the off balance and the positive means it's in one area that you've gone too far in that, and you're not taking care of a complete total spectrum. Okay, so just to be aware of those. And remember that it's a flow state we want. We want to be flowing. We don't want to be in any one at any specific time for extended periods of time, right? And so then the third step is, as soon as you get an idea of where you are, put your attention on finding the imbalanced place that leans slightly in the direction of your greatness, your potential, your growth, and your evolution. Right? Your growth, your potential, your evolution, the way you wish it to be, not the way you've been told it should be, but the way you want it to be, because this is your infinity matrix. Yeah, Shiva talks about the Wheel of Life. Wheel of Life is a good tool for that, and we use that as well in a little bit in the infinity process that we teach. And it's a good tool to kind of make sure you're covering all the different aspects. And if you guys don't know what that is, we will bring that up, and we teach that more specifically in the infinity process stuff. So once you do that, then the fourth step is to thank the infinity matrix for being so simple yet so complex that you can welcome, enjoy, and even relish in being a state of imbalance, and know that it's okay, right? That you don't have to be, that the balance is not the goal. It's as Ross has talked about, it's a landing point. It's a place where you touch base and you take off from there, but it's not a place you want to get and stay and exist there forever, because then again, there's no growth element, there's no drive, there's no movement or motion. It's just a stillness, which again has its purpose, but to live in the infinity matrix that we live in with all the variables, and all variables meaning, the people, the thoughts, everything we've gone, it's just not it's not a sustainable state. That's called death. Okay, as far as we know, right? So that's the hack for today. It's very simple. It's 4 steps, and just practice that for the next 30 days. All right. So there's the hack you have for today. If we went a little over time again today, we'll try to wrap these up a little quicker in the future and get to the point more with you guys. But there's so much in the stuff we want to get to you that we don't want to really miss things out or give you pieces that are not complete as possible based on the topic. So that's our goal and our objective. Thanks for sticking around. If you're here still, go ahead and do your homework. We will post these steps again in the comments. We'll come back and respond to your comments and questions if you have them. And remember to join in the group if you haven't already done so. Someone asked earlier, how do you become a member? You just kind of go to the link that should be showing up in the post. If not, we will post it as well. And let me bring Ross back in. And if you want to be part of VIP, great. Keep an eye out and an ear out for our 7-day challenge we have coming up. We also have a what else we were going to do? The masterclass too, right? We have also we're looking at doing a masterclass, which will be a full-on, almost like a mini workshop. That's going to be pretty cool as well. So
yeah, that's going to be fun.
Keep an eye out for those.
Something to do, something to keep us busy. No, these are going to be amazing. These will be everything that we've done thus far on steroids. I mean, they're going to be very, very powerful, and because
there'll be deep dives, right? So there'll be deep dives
into very intensive
into certain aspects of what we've already covered. So if you haven't watched any of this previous streams, jump on the group, go into the units tab. You'll see all the previous streams. We list them there. You can go and catch the replays. See the topic that resonates with you most at the time you're there. Go and check it. Also, a great idea to do some watch parties as well, to get friends and family involved in the mindset, and so you're not doing this on your own and feeling like the lone sheep. And it's really a good idea to do that, and talk to them about the group and getting in the group as well, so we can create that strong community of people that are there for the purpose of hacking and really testing out all the different ways we can hack the infinity matrix. Hey, thanks for the
very cool.
Thanks for the outline there, Sheba. That was great. Awesome. So I just posted that. We'll put an official graphic up to cover that as well. All right. We will see you guys all next Thursday. I don't know if there's anything else you need to cover, Ross. I think we're good. Awesome.
We're good.
All right, everyone. Have a great week, and we will speak with you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Okay.